What's up, Internet? My name is Attack Slug, and welcome to my Monday Night Raw reactions for the week of December 7th, 2015. Let's get into what happened on Monday Night Raw this week. As always, I will have the things that I like are good, and things that I don't like, I will certainly mention what I don't like. And it seems like, once again this week, there are things that just are, well, let's get into it. So, before I talk about the opening segment, it's felt like in the past couple of weeks, with the things that are happening and the factions that are grouping up, it feels like we're almost building towards Survivor Series. Guess what? We already passed Survivor Series, so this shit kind of makes no fucking sense. Anyway, the opening segment comes out with the League of Nations, who have their own theme song. That's great. I love when groups have their own theme song. That is a awesome thing to do. So, they're out there cutting a promo, whatever. Out come the Wyatts, blink into the ring, whatever. Out come the ECW Originals, who introduce, hey, Rhino. That's not a surprise, he's been doing stuff at NXT. And then out come the team with no name, who they should call the Roman Empire, but they won't. Roman Reigns and the Usos and Dean Ambrose. And guess what? We're gonna have 4-on-4-on-4-on-4 single elimination match to open Monday Night Raw. That's the kind of match you sell a pay-per-view on. Why is that match just an opening for a Monday Night Raw? What are you doing? With the proper booking and build-up, that kind of thing could sell tickets. And now here it is on Raw. Whatever. Like, occasionally they have good ideas, and then they kind of just waste them on free TV. Like, I don't understand that. Anyway, so it was single team elimination, not single person elimination, so obviously that would take a lot longer. And clearly, the team who won was the Roman Empire. And I'm just going to keep calling them that, because it's an easier shorthand. I think I'm in Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose and the Usos, and I think the family is a dumb name, so I'm going to call them the Roman Empire. Anyway, the only other significant thing in that match was that there was a bit of a botch about like halfway into it, where it was two guys on top rope, and then in comes Braun Strowman to give him that double powerbomb thing. Or no, there was like a power. It was two. I think it was the Usos were gonna superplex somebody, right? So he's the three guys on top rope, and then in comes Braun Strowman to do them and have a superplex happen. And then that happened to was like a superplex powerbomb. But Tommy Dreamer, he's there, he's a fucking veteran. He's there where he's supposed to be. Whereas I guess Braun Strowman was, he's a bit green, out of position. So Dreamer's like sitting there kind of waiting and waiting and waiting. It looks so bad. He was waiting for that spot for like a minute and a half. It looks so awkward. Anyway, let's move on to one of my favorite parts of Raw the past few weeks. Yet another backstage interaction between Stardust, and Titus O'Neil. As I said last week, give me 3 hours of that and it'd be a great Raw. Those guys just, whatever it is, how they play off each other is phenomenal. And later on in the evening, they had Titus on commentary during this match, and him saying, "No, he's just in a room with a curtain." I'm like, that stuff is great. Like having Cody Rhodes as Stardust actually be just this weird, delusional guy is fantastic. And when Titus asked him if he could read, and he's like, at the highest level, like, that stuff is just gold. More of that stuff, please. Anyway, next match on the show was Dolph Ziggler, who apparently is still feuding with Tyler Breeze, who was ringside with Summer Rae, versus Kevin Owens. This was a good match. I enjoyed it. It was a good Raw match, and had some good stuff in it. And apparently, backstage is Dean Ambrose the whole match, eating popcorn and drinking a soda. I'm not a fan of wacky Dean Ambrose. And then so Owens wins, and after the match, out comes Ambrose to throw the soda in his face and the popcorn and then walk away. Like, that's how that was the last interaction before they had their match on Sunday. Not really, that doesn't really sell me on that feud. That's the kind of action you take to start that feud, not the action you take in your go-home show before the pay-per-view, which obviously, you know, is this Sunday. So, next match on the show was Sasha Banks and Naomi versus Alicia Fox and Brie Bella. But as Sasha, Naomi, and Tamina are walking to the ring and they go to commercial, they come back to Miz TV. They come back to Miz backstage doing some USA Network promo shit and talking to Neville, and it was all real dumb. And then they go back to the actual thing in the ring, and they were kind of still standing there waiting for their fucking match to start. It was weird. But yeah, another Divas tag match. Sasha and Naomi win. Not much interesting to talk about here. You know, it's kind of whatever. It's a Raw match. But after Sasha and Naomi win, out come the New Day, and we get a little bit of payoff to all the social media interactions and the backstage fallout stuff that they've been doing with the New Day and Team Bad. Finally having them on TV doing, you know, the booty dancing and whatever else. So that was a bit of fun stuff to see. Go to commercial. You come back to the New Day, cutting a promo. And again, one of my favorite parts on the show every week is the New Day. And whatever shenanigans they get up to is fantastic. I thought that while perhaps the crowd didn't appreciate it, their little thing where Big E was a tree and Kofi Kingston was a cat, and Xavier Woods was the New Day rescuing a cat because they don't need ladders because they're grown men, and Big E goes, "Theater!" That was fantastic. That's, like, in wrestling, there's going to be a lot of dumb stuff. That's a given. It's wrestling, right? But there's the good kind of dumb and the bad kind of dumb, and the New Day excel in the good kind of dumb that I enjoy watching each and every week. So, that brought us to the New Day Stardust. And that brought us to this match, which was the New Day versus the Lucha Dragons, obviously to build up their match at the tag team title match at the pay-per-view, which is going to be a triple threat. So obviously, you have the Usos on commentary. There was a distraction where Xavier Woods played his trombone at the Usos, who grabbed it, and then that apparently was enough of a distraction to cause the Lucha Dragons to win this match. And then the Usos stole Xavier's trombone. I think it'd be a great throwback if the Usos take his trombone and melt it down into a big necklace. That'd be great. But, you know, there are a handful of folks who are actually going to understand that reference, and they've been watching wrestling as long as I have. Anyway, that moves us on to the next segment, which was Miz TV. So you get a double dose of Miz tonight. You got Miz TV, and he brings out the Flairs, and that is Charlotte and Rick. I don't know what they're doing with this Charlotte thing. Are they going to make her a heel? Is she going to take after Flair and be, you know, the dirtiest player in the game in the Divas division? Like, what is actually going on here? The crowd had no idea what the hell to do, right? Miz brings... So, let me get into one thing in terms of continuity here. And I always... I was kind of half paying attention to this whole thing because it kind of seemed... It was kind of falling flat. But I don't think... And you can feel free to let me know if I'm wrong here. But I don't think in this segment we ever mentioned that Ric Flair gave The Miz the figure four. I mean, Miz was a face for a little bit there. He gave The Miz the figure four. Like, that happened. That was a thing that happened. And we've kind of just forgotten about that shit. But anyway. So yeah, there was this whole thing here. And guess what? Paige is here. And they come out and cut a promo. And the whole thing just... Like, the crowd didn't know who to cheer for. Because they were just kind of both being heels. And then it ends up with Paige slapping Flair. And Flair's like, get her. And, like, no reaction for that at all. Like, that... When I think about current roster members hurting legends and having a crowd react, I think of when The Big Show knocked out Dusty Rhodes because the Authority made him do it, and how epic that was, and how amazing that all was planned out, and people were into it. And this here, nobody cared. Like, that fell so flat. Nobody cared. So, moving on to the next match, which was Ryback versus Rusev yet again. Now, on one hand, this keeps Ryback away from the IC title, and that's fine by me, because I don't want him working Owens, because those matches were not good. But, on the other hand, Ryback did a corkscrew plancha. Is he hanging out with Callisto? Like, what on earth? Like, Ryback is like, look, I'm gonna fucking do whatever. I don't give a shit. Like, that, to me, was the highlight of this fucking match. It made no sense whatsoever. He thinks he's a goddamn luchador. But the match ended with Lana pretending to be hurt and causing a double countout. So guess what? They're gonna fight again, I suppose. I don't know. It just, this feud just could... What the hell, Sin Cara? This feud just continues, for reasons beyond my understanding. And I'm not sure who to even cheer or boo for here, because none of it really makes me give a shit about any of these guys. And nobody likes a double countout. That's like the weakest finish in wrestling. So, speaking of weak shit, they went to commercial after that, right? They come back from commercial, and the Stardust Jack Swagger match is already in progress. They care so little about that match. It is already in progress. Titus O'Neil on commentary, being awesome as he is on commentary. Quick match, you know, it's the kind of thing you see on like main event. So obviously having it on Raw is weird. So quick match. Swagger manages to tap out Stardust. So hey, Jack Swagger wins on Raw. That's like a headline, right? Manages to tap out Stardust, and then out comes Del Rio for some reason. And then Titus O'Neil warns Del Rio about Stardust for some reason. And the whole point of this whole segment was to have Zeb Coulter trip over the scooter. No, I'm sorry. To have Del Rio trip over Zeb Coulter's scooter so we can get mad at him in a backstage segment later. Like, that was such a convoluted setup to make that happen, and the only redeeming thing of this whole thing was just Jack Swagger screaming at Zeb Coulter, I guess because he still wants him to be, you know, racist. Screaming at him, and Zeb just kind of looks at him, and then just drives away, and I'm just like, they see me rolling, they hating. Like, that's fucking whatever. Anyway, we go backstage. No, we go to the Adam Rose thing again, the Rose Bush, which would work so much better if the jokes were actually funny, or they actually had any kind of a sting to them. If the jokes were actually, you know, if Adam Rose actually had some zingers that actually, like, if Adam Rose had the comedic ability of David Spade from SNL in the 90s, is what I'm trying to say. But he doesn't. Or the writers don't. And it's still terrible. Anyway. Then we go backstage to Zeb and Del Rio. Del Rio's mad at him for making him look like a fool. I guess we've finally... Okay, well, now that Del Rio's in... Now that Del Rio is in the League of Nations, we don't need him in Mex America. We don't need him to be here with Zeb. Perhaps we'll put Zeb back with Swagger when they have their match. Or if they're going to have their match. I don't fucking know. So I guess the notable thing here, the foreshadowing here, was that in the previous thing, in that match, when out comes Del Rio and Zeb, there was no Mex America flag. So that was kind of foreshadowing. Anyway. Tag team finisher. Anyway, rest in peace, Mex America. You didn't even last long enough for John Cena to come back and squash you. So there's that. The last match of the show was Tommy Dreamer versus Braun Strowman. Was the last actual match on this show. And that's supposed to sell us on the 4-on-4 happening at the pay-per-view on Sunday. Which, you know, whatever. The match was kind of whatever. It's Tommy Dreamer in 2015 wearing the polka dot pants as a tribute to, you know, the late great Hall of Famer Dusty Rhodes, if you will. And then, yeah, obviously Braun Strowman wins. You know, it was kind of a whatever match. So the actual main event was the longest, not worst, but it was bad, promo between Roman Reigns, who you should not be giving the microphone because he's fucking terrible, and Sheamus. This long, like, that segment could have been alright if it was like 15 minutes shorter. It just went on, and on, and on. And they individually take, oh, gotta get the chair out of the ring, gotta get the table out of the ring, gotta get the ladder out. Like, it was dumb. And it was bad. And making, like, I don't have anything against making testicle jokes. But the crowd chanting tater tots on that stuff, trying to make Roman Reigns look funny and clever on the level of John Cena, not working. I think having them call the tables, ladders, and chairs toys, I never liked that. They're weapons. They should be violent. But they're toys. No, I hate that. Calling what Roman Reigns had in the ring a fort, I'm sorry. There's no blankets and there's no cushions. That is not a fort. That's not how forts work. And yeah, so it dragged out, and eventually they got into a brawl, and eventually it ended on a pretty sick table spot. But the amount of time it took to get there, the amount of build, and that is your go-home thing that's supposed to sell you on wanting to watch TLC this Sunday. Now, obviously, you know, I've been watching for 19 years. I'm not going to not watch TLC. But if, say, you were more of a casual fan, you had seen this, and that was supposed to sell you on watching TLC? No, it's not. It was bad. Stop letting Roman Reigns talk for extended periods of time. It just doesn't work. So, as I said, there were good parts of Raw that I enjoyed. But man, that main event took all the energy right out of me. And like I said, give me 3 hours of Stardust and fucking Titus, and it'd be a great Raw. Stardust, Titus, New Day, great Raw. Everything else, not so much. So, kind of the parts where, man, I am so mad that Cesaro is hurt right now, because he could be killing it right now. But don't worry, John Cena's back soon. Anyway, that was my, once again, very lengthy Raw reaction. Thanks for sticking around. Let me know what you thought down in the comments below. If you enjoyed Raw or not. I think there are certainly there are a lot of good guys on Raw. They're just not using them right. And that's it. I'm Attack Slug. That was my reactions for the Raw of December 7th, 2015. See you next time, right here on this channel. And I'm out.